Hi, welcome. Treasured greetings, everyone. We are back here. My name is still High Fairly Treasure Mako, and we are doing something exciting today. Excel. So, Excel is one of those things that I think even after this class you should learn more about because I think most of you may need to use it from your workplace. We'll do the basics and hopefully we'll be able to cover some of your assignment burning questions. So for some of you who may have Excel assignment, I hope this will assist you, but as with always, feel free to comment on the clip on Unlimited Treasure YouTube channel, this very clip. If you happen to have any question, please ask. And of course, other things on extra information, you can really always Google, or if your work allows you to have extra advanced Excel training, you can. It's really a very helpful tool, right? So let's get into it. What I'm going to cover now is just to quickly just sensitize you on what Excel is, what it covers, and then I'm going to do a bit of a practical. So this is one of those clips. When you go through this recording, you will also need to have your Excel open on the side at some point. Practice. When you look at me doing things, you'll think you get it, but there's power in practice, right? So let's do that. So what is Excel? It's basically a way of just making sure that you can easily change data, play around formulas, put formulas where you want to put them, and it helps very much. The minute you get to understand the functions and formulas, you realize how great it is. All right, for example, this looks like Excel, right? 0 to run 50, and there's that the total, the percentage total, right? So in case you are wondering why is the total 5, I think the formula that was used here is product, right? Product is what? You still remember from your maths class, it's when you multiply, you call it a product. When you add, the answer is called a sum. And then there's the name for when you subtract. There's for when you do anything. I'll get you exposed to some of those, right? Your quotient and all those things. It's important to remember those things because if you know it's a quotient, then when you go there, you just look for the word quotient, right? So this was, and again, this, when you work on Excel, it is always important to know how you are converting, because I said it's multiplication. 2.5 times 2, it's 5, right? This times 150 times 1, 150. I think now you get it. And then the calculator. This is just some of the ways. It's just showing you that these are some of the things you can do through Excel, right? Let's continue. So let's just give you a quick intro. This is a part where you can even pause and open your Excel and see if you're able to see some of these things. The quick access toolbar, you see that portion. Let's start on the left, right? Let's start on the left. Quick access toolbar. You see those save and do, at the top left. It's called a quick access tool. I don't know, guys, if you're writing exams and how they are. Some of assignments are more practical, but some of you may happen to have some multiple choice somewhere. I'm dealing with students from different universities. It's up to them, but just get to know these things. What is a ribbon tab? File home insert, you see that? And then the name box, that's where you'll get to see if it's an A1. Remember, it's always row. It's column and row, right? When you talk A, B, C, D, E, those are, did you get it right? Those are the columns, right? So it's column D and row 2. right? So the rows are the horizontal ones, like 1, 2, 3, 4s that you're seeing going down. One would be food item, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Get it? So that's how we refer to them in Excel, right? So the functions, you will see where the function is. You will see when you get to functions and the function button, the rows is indicating toward that. These are called sheets. At the bottom, let's now go to the bottom, the sheet tabs, where you insert a worksheet. When you do many things at work, you can decide that or another sheet is for formulas, or the other one is for assignment 1, assignment 2, however way, depending on what you're doing. So these things are called worksheets, right? Then the view buttons depends on how you want to view. Click, it's important that you click on your Excel and get to know how these things are. If you're looking at it here, you may not understand what you'll be able to do. Zoom is basically how you make it smaller and bigger, just like when you zoom and take pictures, right? So it's an Excel zoom. Then you've got that home ribbon, which shows you all these things. And then sizing buttons, whether you want to minimize, maximize, or close, and the help button as well. Guys, it's very important. Play around it, then you'll understand it. This is basically what I just explained, just that we're no longer looking much at the top part, we're just in the middle to say what is A, B, C, D. These are the rows, these are the labels. So get used to that, play around. Now here I'm going to move quicker. It's basically what I was explaining. It's just brought closer to you, all right? This is what a home ribbon is used to. I think what I'm doing as I go through this, I'm leaving it here a bit so that you can pause and read what it's for. But basically to change fonts, to justify text, insert, we've done Word and we'll also cover Word again. So you'll get to, you know what justifying is, inserting rows and all those things. This is just saying whatever you do in Excel, you can then decide to portray it. Imagine you're at work doing some calculations, maybe having a departmental view. So you'll come and say the finance department, the HR department, IT department, and then you just show this. Remember when you're doing these presentations for CEOs and people who prefer a high level view, you need to find a summarized view, and graphs sometimes, and the graphs and charts help you to do that better, right? And then why use spreadsheet applications? The power of that is that you can be able to relate all these different values, formulas. You can play around with your formulas much better. You can copy them, you can generate charts. There's quite a lot of benefits. The more you get to learn more about it, the more you will see, right? We'll do formulas shortly, but basically it's a sequence of values, cell references, and operators. So basically, this will then produce a new value, which means you can have a value for adding, you can have a formula for adding, you can have a formula for multiplying, for having an average, and then once you have done that formula once, you just drag and it helps you do things quicker, right? Spoken about this. So we will, you see there's this arithmetic operators, the multiplication and division. You always have to kind of remember your maths, right? Which one, as you put those brackets, yeah, you know the importance of bracket. You may need to understand that bracket of the BODMAS rule, right? Yes, I said BODMAS. Jeez. It's not a maths class, but when you do this formulas in Excel, it's always good to remember those things. Okay. So let's get to some walkthrough so that I can show you how some of these things work, right? We'll get to that shortly. What is a workbook? I'll show you a workbook, Excel file with one or more sheets. So the workbook is the whole Excel. A worksheet is those tabs at the bottom, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. And then the ribbon is that section that has the command icons. Then there's a row, which is horizontal. That would be, and then the column would be your vertical. So in Excel, then we say A1. So when you say A1, we mean column A, row 1, right? Column A, row 1. That's how it goes in Excel. You don't say 1A, you say A1, okay? Then we have your values, which are your numeric entries, your labels, the active cells, the formula bar. Let's see. So there's some of these functions, guys. Like I said, you can always expand your language. I think I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough to show you some of these things, and I will cover the popular ones like sum, minimum, maximum, average. I'll do count and counter as well. The rest play around with. As you know, I don't like make the recordings very long. The minute you get to know how these formulas work, then you can use all of them. This is not even all the formulas that are available in Excel. I just picked a few, and I think I'll play around those first ones. 2, 4, 6, yeah, maybe around 6 of them, just so that you get a review of how they work. Right, cool. So these functions, why use them? They save time, they simplify complex calculations, faster execution, and really then you avoid a lot of typos or using the wrong formula when you, doing the wrong calculation. If you had a predefined formula, then it assists you not to make mistakes, right? We'll get to that. I want us to do, we'll do this, right? Especially the final, the total. I'll also show you the average. So let's just use this as an example. I'll try and show you how they got to these answers. Okay, we're already on 12 minutes. I don't like the recordings being way out of 20, 25 minutes. So let's see what we can do. All right. So just at high level, sum will add average, will get the average, minimum will get you the minimum, and the maximum will get you the maximum. So if you have three numbers and you want to know which one is the maximum, then you know if it's 1, 3, and 5, then which one is the maximum, minimum, which one is it, you know, the smallest number, the largest number. Count and counter, I think we'll spend a bit of time with you just understanding that thing that I've seen most of the university students asking about this count and counter and being confused, right? So I'll explain that a bit. Okay, this will go through when I do. Let me just see if there's anything I wanted to cover more than this. Actually, no. So let's just do a bit of practical. Let's just do a bit of practical. As I do this, as you listen to this recording, open your Excel, look at what I'm doing, do it yourself, see if you understand, because I'm sure your assignments cover some of these things. Okay, most actually. Okay, so this is what we have. I just want to assure you that I was just copying this from there. I don't have the time to do the percentages. Play around the percentages. Okay, so I already did this, but I'm going to just say here again final and then total so that you see how I do it, right? So these are more like your topics. Let me just bold them. So you note that these numbers I took from 10, 20, 100, 9, 15, 88. I just took them from this. So this and honors. So B, C, D, E until 8, until row 8 only. So the highest score we need to calculate, lowest score we need to calculate. They didn't have count and counter here, but I'm going to include it so that you just see how we count and counter. What's the difference, right? So we basically want to achieve what they achieved here, right? So let's do a quick example. So just to explain, so this is honors, this is H, and this is, you see what's happening here, there's some spaces. But please note that this is an alphabet, it's not a number, right? That will be important when you do count and counter, then you'll understand how it works. Let me just do another count and highest score and these things here so that you see how I did them. Sorry. Okay, so here are the numbers. What becomes very important in Excel, you need to know what you are adding or what you're subtracting. You need to know your range. It's called a range, sorry. So you need to know your ranges. You see the marks. These are the students like you. And then this, let's say is their marks, right? And these are the marks. So here there's an empty space, which could mean anything. I just took it exactly the way it is. This, and this is the mark out of 100, right? These are the marks out of 20. This is the total, and this is the mark out of that. Okay, so the final, we're gonna work on the final here now, so that you see how we got to the final. So it is very important that you understand the range. Right? So let's start with this. So what is this? It's 10 and 20 and 100, right? It's out of, right? And then this final, which is 200. So don't make a mistake when they say final. Okay, of course, these are like, it's like the top, but it's possible for one to then say, here we want the sum. When you want the sum, guys, you just say equal sum, right? For some of you, if so, I will show you some of these things. Just play around this thing and you'll know where to get these things. For example, here, when you come here, you'll see the sum, average, count, max, mean, and then there's more functions. When you click here, you'll see a whole lot of them, hyperlink, there's quite a lot of them. So this is where you can come to do it slowly, right? I already know that sum is when you add two numbers, you get a sum. So final is what is the sum of the totals. So every time you write, start with equals sum, right? And then you see, even when I say sum s, it starts showing me something. If I know it's you, it shows I can, but because I know it's sum, I just put it there. Then we double click on this, open bracket, and the logic is very important. The final would be the final of this, right? C3 to E3, right? And then you enter. It says 130. What's wrong there? I want you to see this mistake that I made. I don't know if you are picking it up. I'm not supposed to do this for final because basically this is a midterm, right? You can say midterm, this is the final. It's like you when you do your maybe your assignment 1, assignment 2, then you have the main assignment, or we call it a midterm mark, and then here you have your final mark, maybe it's an exam, right? So what I did here is wrong because final, and these are the total possible points. There's really nothing that I need to be doing here. When you get your assignment, they tell you it's out of 20 or it's out of 100. I did this intentionally so that you see that you still need your own logic, right? So let me escape and get out of this. You don't need to do this. I'm showing you so that when you do your assignments, you become cautious of these things, right? So here the final, they're saying is out of 200. This person got 168 out of 200. Is there anything I need to add? No, nothing. Total here, on the other hand, we could say total if they didn't give you the total. So for now, I'll say they wanted us to calculate the total. But really, what is this total? How do they get to understand that it's 330? If you have a calculator, it's 10 plus 20 plus 100 plus 200. But in Excel, how do we do that? We'll say equals sum, open the bracket, and you highlight the range that you want. So for us, we know that for us to know what was your total mark, we must check your assignment 1, 2, your midterm mark, and your final mark. And then we close this thing and bam, we fetch. Right? That is that. So this is the total. It's fine. It's like that. Let's hold it. Total. We don't need to tamper with it. Then here is student 1, blue. What is blue's total mark now? Remember, this totals. Let's say we didn't have this before. Right? So we're saying what is blue's mark? So blue, you say equal sum. So blue had 9, 15, 88, and 168. Be very careful not to highlight 2 columns because it will add them up, right? If you do this by mistake in your assignment and you close here, that's going to be your answer, and you may think it's correct. When we then mark, I come here and say 517. I mean, just do your essence check as well. These things are not equal to 570, right? I mean, if you add this, it can be 517. So just do that 5 essence check. It's because you did C5 to F. So this is not correct. So just always make sure that when you highlight your range, is the correct range, okay? Sum. Sorry, what did I do? I don't know. Oh, I see what happened. I see what happened. Let's undo. We have 9 there that I had deleted. It wasn't gonna be alright. So then we want to add these up. We close it now. It's 280, right? And then let's do it again for this one. Remember, there is somewhere where we have an empty space here, but with numbers, it won't matter, okay, because we're dealing with numbers. It will just take it. It's 237 is correct. You keep on doing the same for everything, but if you already know, I'm repeating them so that you see, but if you know, you can just click here and it's grinned around. Then you put a plus, you put a cursor here until it's a plus, you click, and then you drag. Then you get these ones. When we do that, it also pulls the formula. So if you, when we mark, we look at this, we say CF until, so what we mark is the fact that we have this right formula, not necessarily that we're seeing, not necessarily, if we just look at 280, we don't know. So if the way Excel is marked, if you are submitting an Excel assignment, you need to just make sure that this Excel, you submit an Excel format, right? Don't PDF it. Submit it as an Excel. So when we come in, whoever marks, we do this, and then we look at them. This is what is important. You can use the formulas. Otherwise, you can use your calculator and then end up coming with 280. So it's very important, right? So we look at these formulas. You see, it must be about C6 to F6. So this is line 6. At least we know you are on the right ones. See? And then highest score. Okay, highest score, I guess at this point we could also pull this down because it's just that. But then because there was nothing here, I'll remove this. Guys, I hope you saw that I did a lot of the something. So I'm going to, so this is the total. Guys, if there was a need for average, you need to know. Average, exactly that. It depends on what you want the average for. So here you'll say equals average, right? if you're not sure, because here there's average and there's average A and average if. Average, it will tell you, it returns the average arithmetic mean of its arguments, which can be numbers or names, arrays. So when you click on these things, they will show you, they will explain a bit what each one is. So for average, this one is average. And then if you want to know the average, let's say maybe you need a 50% pass, or you need an average of 50 to pass, then we can come here and say average of these totals is this, right? So then we will say average is 82. So the average is exactly that. This is how you do it, right? In this case, it may not really apply nicely, but I just wanted to show you how you do average. So you simply come and say equals average, double click on it, and then remember what you may want an average for. In this case, maybe you want to see what was the average that the student got from the totals. So you can say, okay, let me see what was the average pass. Remember, this is the total of everything. It's not the lab one, it's not the, so this is your final mark, and then we want to say what is the average, and then if you do this, this is the average, 260. So the others were getting 280, others 237, 309. But say it's your kids at school. When you send the report, remember some of these reports say the average class rate is this. So this would be the average. It means the average pass is 268. So if your child got 309, then wow, he's above average. If your child got 247, not too bad, but below, you know. So that's how it works. Right, guys, that's average. Anyway, let me just do it for you here so that average. So I'm just going to do the average for total. Average total. You understand what I'm saying? I'm doing. So then you'll come here and say average, double click. Remember, guys, some of you may end up doing this as the average. You see, I'm starting at 330, which is really the total. So then this will be the average. When we mark, we're gonna see that the answer is wrong, and then we also wanna come to your formula. It's wrong. Why is it wrong, guys? Because it says G3. G3 is the total. We're not supposed to include it, right? So that's just, guys, always be careful when you highlight these things. Average, and then we want the average for the students. Out of 330, what was the average? The average was 268. So this they're doing very well. Their average 268 out of 330, which is good, right? So this is the average. I was just adding it for you so that you see how it's done, right? So that's how you do it. Higher score, guys, to avoid our recording being very long. You use max. You see here, C526 C8 is this. So I'll just repeat this one. You say equals maximum, and then you highlight what you want, you close, then it will tell you the maximum was 10. And then with the lowest, we see from this that it must be 5. So you just come and say, you know, when I say you see from this, I mean in your head you know that the lowest here is 5 because they want who got the lowest score. So then this is minimum. Then don't make a mistake of highlighting this 10 because you forgot what you're doing. Always know that I want the minimum for all the students. And then here, bam, right? So that's how you do the minimum and the maximum, and that's how you get it. You can view the answer here. You can take a screenshot, put it somewhere, open your Excel, play around these numbers and see if they're exactly this. It's exactly the same with all of them. We're calculating all these things, right? So then let's come back and do count. Because we need to do count and counter very fast. Okay, guys, when it takes a lot to upload a very big video. That is why I really don't like them being more than 30 minutes. It takes a long time. It takes a whole lot of resources. So we've done the total. Let's do count. I want you to see the difference. So count is, you would remember by now. Remember what I said. You can still come here and look at all this count and more functions and that. I know them, so I find it very easy because I'm already used to Excel. I find it very easy if I know the function. If I don't know the function, I definitely use other ways. But when I know the function, I just say count because we're doing count. And then we are counting the students who have this age, right? It says 0. Cool. Why is it saying 0? We'll come back to that. Then we come to this one, and then we say counter. And then we do the same. Did the same thing, the same range, just count and counter. Counter says 2. Count says 0. Why? Because, guys, before I explain, let's come here. There's another space here. This is alphabets, this is numbers. Let's do another count and counter here where there's another space so that you get to see the real difference. Count. This is count. We do it here. It has the space, but it counted 3. Here it had the space, but it said 0 in either way. I'll come to explain that now. Let's just do this counter again. Counter. See what I was typing there? Be careful. Let this thing assist you. It's a count A, counter with an A. So counter. 3. Yes. So this is where we're ending our session with you just getting to understand what this is, right? So count, guys, count will count how many, right? So here we can see that there's 1, 2, 3 numbers in the cells. Here there's nothing. It does not count the empty spaces, right? But here, let's explain it this way. Here we're dealing with numbers. Let's explain count and counter in terms of their numbers. If you are using the numbers, the chances are you will get the same. If we then remove this 10, it will still say 2, 2 because we removed is 1, 2. Right, let's undo. It's 3, 3, as we can see. So with numbers, counter works the way you'd expect it to. Count and counter, right? Let's just go back, by the way. I said they explain count. So when you click here, it says count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Numbers is very key. It will count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So how many number of cells here contain numbers? So here, the cells that contain numbers are 1, 2, 3. It's not 4. Here, the counter would give us 4 because it's all of them. That's count, numbers. Let's see what counter does. It counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. Counter is about not empty. Guys, do we get it? Not empty. When you use counter, you're saying not empty. So the reason this counter is giving us 3 and the reason count is giving us 3, it has nothing to do with the fact that they are doing the same thing. Their answers may be the same, but they are not doing the same thing. How do we see that? Let's say there's a student here. Let's say there's a student here called Treasure, and the student, unlike the real Treasure, happened to just have been absent. So we came for the lab, got 10 out of 10. Of course, even here got 20 out of 20. And then she thought I'm smart and disappeared, or whatever reasons. Right? So if we do the count, you see guys, it already automatically calculated 4, 4. But let's say here, actually just did one lab and disappeared. It's still 3 and 3, right? But remember here, okay, let me just change the range here. Doing count, we're doing blue until Treasure. Until Treasure now, right? It says 3. It says 3, but there's how many? 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says 3. Let's see what counter, okay, I must say equals. Remind me, counter. Guys, remember, contains numbers versus empty spaces. Ne? Counter, let's increase the range until Treasure. 3. So how many empty spaces do we have? I think I messed up my range here. Let's undo, right? So I think you got the point, ne? So when you do count and counter, just understand that this one count, it counts the number of cells that contains numbers. 1, 2, 3 we have. So we expect it to tell us that it's 3. Right? And then here we are going to do counter. What does it say? Not empty. Not empty. Ne? Okay. And then the range, we're still doing the students, the 4 students. Not empty is 3, right? So they are very much related, sometimes the same, sometimes they could look the same, but just understand that it is, hope you take a screenshot of that definition, as the numbers contained is count. Not empty, counter. But guys, it's easy when there's numbers. Let's be real, let's be frank, it's very much easy when it's numbers. If you have to count names, it's different. If you have to count blues and Jones and them and H's and them, it's different. Count will give you 0. Because count, if you are dealing with names, count is not advisable. That's what we are getting to. It's not advisable. And then you can just do counter when you are dealing with alphabets. No? So counter will say, okay, there's 2 H's here, right? But if you say count, it will say 0 and you'll be like, no, but why is it saying 0 when there's 2? No, it's saying 0 because it does not have the capacity to calculate, or not to calculate, to count alphabets for you, you know, like this H and H. It can't count them. You need to just use counter straight away. So if in your assignments you have somewhere where they say you must count these things, alphabet like this, use counter. Then if you have to use numbers, then it's fine, you can use your counter. It's fine. But where you have this involved, alphabets involved, don't use count. Okay, that is it. Flip. It's a bit longer than we thought. Guys, I hope you get it. Where you may be confused, it was a walkthrough. So try play around it. The numbers that you now have are correct. Play around it, do it yourself. If you do not understand, right below in this clip, there's a comment section. Ask questions. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you'll do well in this. Hope we covered most of what you need to play around this. Ask questions. And before you exit, please subscribe. Right? Please subscribe to the channel. We'll always keep on loading things even after this. There's quite a lot happening in the IT space that we need to know about. We need to know how security impacts us. We need to know how automation impacts us. We need to know quite a lot. So there's going to be a lot of those clips other than just introduction. We're not even done with these basic concepts that we've been covering. I'm not sharing this with you so that you cram and pass the exam. I'm sharing this so that you can go and be the difference that you need to be in your workspaces. So subscribe, see those short clips that we'll do, and as the channel grows, a lot is coming and you don't want to miss out, right? So all the best. Shout if anything. Remember to subscribe and remember you are treasured.